Mhm.
Good afternoon, and you are rolling on the road with Dr. Kimberly Davis on assignment. I am so excited about today's show. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Yes.
me
Okay.
too.
So I do have my okay. So I'm ready with my tissue. So we are
I
in
didn't hear that. Okay.
yeah, we are in segment number 5 of the
All right.
intersectionality of the of disability and the church. And so
Mm-hmm.
there are so many lenses by which we can view this that these shows will probably be limitless.
Mm-hmm.
But on today, we are talking about the deaf worshiper. I know that
Yes.
sounds like
Yes.
an oxymoron. Everybody's like, "What? How can you be deaf and sing?" Mm,
Mhm.
that part. So I'm just excited. So we are down in Atlanta today, guys. We
Yeah.
haven't been to Georgia for a minute. We were
Yeah.
there almost every other week for almost a year.
Mhm.
But today, we're there and we are with the Reverend Dr. You know,
Mm.
musical queen who just happens to be my sister cousin twin. I'm just saying.
Woo!
Yes, we are truly related. I love it. We did the prayer like how many years? We did it maybe 2 or 3 years. And
Mhm.
I think we were the first on an international prayer line to actually be relatives and to do prayer and worship together. So it was
Yes.
just an honor. So, we do ministry together. We do life together. And
Yes.
I do
Yes.
have mine in today. I have mine. I have my pink ones. Mine are pink.
Okay.
They don't have purple yet, but the pink ones are for cancer survivors. So I'm excited. I am a cancer
Okay. See my ears. Okay.
yeah,
The big one. Mhm.
cancer survivor. That's why no hair. Five head surgeries and thyroid cancer, a few other things. But anyway, I'm just excited to have this conversation. Our fathers were bishops together. They are now gone. And
Mhm.
so we are still carrying on. Yeah, we are still carrying on.
Mhm.
And I would love it. When her dad would get up to preach, she did the sermonic solo. When my dad got up to preach, I did the sermonic solo. Yeah, but I
Yes.
can't sing like she sang. And I love it. You know how people who are really gifted, they and they're humble about it, they try to make you feel so good about yourself. So
Mhm.
her and all her siblings, they all sing. They've all traveled the country, in the country,
Yes.
out of the country. They're just international and singing.
Yes.
And I appreciate the
Mhm.
fact that they toured with Jesse Dixon and they needed
Mhm.
a singer and they called and they were like, "Hey, you want to join?" I said, "What?
Mhm.
You I could, I'm good at background." It was like, "You ain't gotta do no, yeah, you can stay in the background." I was like, "What?" I don't even know if I want to do it now.
Mm.
I just need you to go there for me. Just for a minute. God sent his son.
God sent his son. They call him Jesus. He came to love, heal, and forgive. He hung, bled, and died. Hey, just to buy my pardon. An empty grave. It's there to prove my Savior lives. You want me to go further?
Yeah, go.
Because he lives. Hey, I can face tomorrow because he lives. All my sins are gone because I know who my future, you, and life is worth the living, yes, because ye live. You had to go to church on the end. Hey!
Yes, I felt that. You see that? It's that beautiful voice, powerful. I want to say thank you to Auntie Tadosha. She is tuning in all the way from Detroit, Michigan. Um,
Hey!
you know, I want to say it was two shows back,
Okay.
two shows back, and it hit me right in here,
Mm-hmm.
right in here. And the young lady said that in the Anglo church, they don't have the expectation of being healed on this side.
Mm-hmm.
Expectation is that to suffer is to be with Christ. And
Mm-hmm.
so, if we're given something, the burden of being disabled, if you will, that God has given us more than enough grace,
Mm-hmm.
and making the reference to when Paul said, I asked God to remove the thorn from my side, he said 3 times, and yet the Lord told him that his grace was sufficient. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and he just had to bear whatever that thorn was. I love it because the thorn is not identified by any type of inability or ability, but
Mm-hmm.
it is designed that, thousands of years later, when we say, Lord, I got a thorn on my side, that God's response is still the same, that his grace is sufficient. And
Yeah.
so we talked about in the African American church, that is not what we're taught. We're
Mm-hmm.
taught that by his stripes we are healed, and
Yes.
Lazarus come forth. And they talk about the
Amen.
miracles of Jesus, but we know that there were so many more
Mm-hmm.
that he never did heal. And we
Mm-hmm.
also know that, like the centurion soldier, all he had to do was speak the word. He said, do you need
Yes.
me to come? He was like, oh, no, sir. No, 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 no. He said, I believe. I have enough
Come on.
faith that all you have to
Yes.
do is speak the word,
Hallelujah.
she be healed. And she was.
Yes.
She was brought back from the dead just by the Lord speaking the word and her father believing. And so we hold on to that. And if
Yes.
that is true, and he did speak the word, then could he not have just spoke the word and said, anyone right now, anywhere in the world who has any type of ailment or disability, I heal it now from this day until my return. He could have done
Mm-hmm.
that, but he did
Yes.
not.
Mm-hmm.
He did not.
You're right.
And so, being in the African American church, what has been your experience when they learn of your disability of being deaf and hard of hearing?
Well, I've had such negative reactions. Now, I'll say this first of all. Me and you discussed this one. because of the gift, I've been able to play like the imitation of life, the movie, as if I didn't have a problem.
Yeah.
Yes, I am legally deaf. I'm not completely deaf, but I'm legally deaf.
Okay.
So
Can you tell
allow me
to explain to the people what that means exactly, to say I'm not totally deaf, but I'm legally deaf?
Okay, I'll give you my numbers. 100% hearing loss on both ears, you are totally deaf. I have 85% loss in both of my ears. So technically, by regular standards, I'm deaf.
Yeah.
Yes. And I do have 2 hearing aids, but my hearing loss is so bad, the hearing aid does not help because the way my hearing loss is, I need those, that surgery. What's that surgery, sister?
Cochlear implants.
Right. And once I spoke to my doctor and saw the chances of it, I chose not to take it because I didn't want to lose the gift that I have musically. And the fact that they said it wouldn't be 100%, they couldn't guarantee that. Now, maybe that's my fear or ignorance, but in the process of it, I feel that God has allowed me to manifest as long as I have and make it. Now, this is the problem I had when the pandemic came, because I've had this hearing loss ever since I was a child. Reading lips is how I get by. Everybody's mouth was covered during the pandemic. That's when I had to tell my secret. I worked with some of the biggest names in the industry. Nobody was afraid of me. They passed my name on with integrity. But when they found out my secret, people began to shut down my connections. They began to pass the word, do not work with Patricia because she's deaf. Now, I just did a gig with you right before the pandemic, and the power of God manifests as I always give him the glory for it, because this gift could not be used in this magnitude with the hearing loss except God do it. Now, in the midst of it, you've seen it, but then after you hear about my hearing loss in the pandemic, which I had to come forth and say it because I cannot read your lips because I don't see them. In it all, they begin to block gigs. They begin to, different people, when I go to services and they hear about my loss, they want to become Billy Graham and show people that if they pray for me, my ears are going to open. And it's not that that cannot happen. As my sister has spoken, God can do anything, but we must remember it's in his time. So this is what I ran into, people pouring oil all over my head, slapping me in my ears and in my forehead, making me walk to the back of the church, saying things that I really couldn't hear. And I didn't want to lie and say I heard them. People in this church was whispering, they said, dog, he said, dog, trying to help me. And I'm like, well, I can be an as they went. I can be. I said, but in the midst of it, I had to, I'll tell you one that was really outstanding. I'd sung for this young man's choir. He invited me. He knows about my problem. He invited me to sing. I sung for his service, and everything's good. Nobody, everything's well. He told the pastor that I'm deaf and I needed prayer. The lady says over the intercom that the young man said, I'm deaf and I need prayer. I'm sitting there because I can't hear him. And the young man tapped me next to me, said, they said, come up and get prayer because you're deaf. I'm like, who told them that? Okay, because it's just song. But in the process of it, it was kind of a crazy response because she prayed for me. She wasn't indignant and slapping me across my head. But everybody began to look at me real different because they didn't know my secret until they said that. At this point in my life, I'm learning to not be in a secret place about who I am completely. And I admit I was because of the negative responses of people's reaction, the way they act. I think people see that it's something that you have or do that's not completely normal, quote unquote. They fear it. They shy away from it. They're ignorant to how to respond to it. I've had people that I told, and they begin to yell in my face and relate my hearing loss as if I was blind. And spitting in my face, telling me, I said, no, you don't do that. I just reach your lips and I'm fine. And they're yelling and screaming and people around them, why are you yelling like that? Well, she's deaf. And it's a lot of just ignorance. That's what I would call it, to know how to deal with the situation and all.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And it is 15 after the hour. We want to say thank you so much for tuning in. You are rolling on the road with Dr. Kimberly and Dave. Dave is on assignment on today. And yes, you've been seeing the posts for almost the last 2 weeks about the deaf worshiper. And she is here, Miss Patricia Sanders, and she hails from Atlanta, Georgia.
Yes.
Yeah. I just shake my head sometimes because I can't believe, and I say this as kindly as I know how, is the ignorance that people have and the assumptions that they make. And I have to say that I definitely feel your pain, when it comes to understanding people with a mask on. And then number two, when people say, oh, you're not like me? Well, let me decide how we need to interact. And it's like, if we've been interacting well prior to this, then there's no reason for things to change. And so I'm very sad that you had to experience that, where everybody knew. I mean, whew, how many CDs do I have? Oh, wait a minute. Actually, I got my CD right here. So I'm excited to say, excuse us, that yes. So Auntie Theodosia will be getting a CD on today. And so the next person that I see that comes up and makes a comment, you will get a CD as well. We actually have like 3 to be able to give away. So I just want to say I love my CD. I love it. And I think the first thing that really amazed me about you, it wasn't necessarily the singing. We were, I want to say, in Kansas City together.
Okay, yes.
We were in Kansas City together, and you got on the drums. I was like, wait a minute, what? I mean, I didn't know you, I'm a life, and it's like I've always seen you sing, and when I saw you get on the drums, I was like, okay, come on now, you just going a little bit too far here. How are we gonna do this? And man, you kept the beat. How do you feel it on the inside? Do you feel the vibration?
Yes.
With playing.
That's exactly what you feel. Even to arrangement, people that I sang with, once they found out, they say, how could you keep the rhythm, the changes, and you say you can't hear? The vibe of the beat flows through your body. I don't know how to explain it, and it's not a black thing, okay? It's
just... okay, this has nothing to do with ethnicity.
It's the vibration of the beat. It flows through your body, and it was a song. I think it was a show on Netflix called The Sound of Music, and the young man who dances on TikTok, he was in it, and the young man was a drummer for a rock band. He lost his hearing, but later on, as he became totally deaf, he was showing children in a deaf school how to feel the vibration of the drum, and it's actually vibrative. Music is amazing. This is how come I thank God for allowing me to have that gift. It takes you somewhere. You cannot go on your own. And I believe the pain and the things that comes with this. Now, I'm not going to cry. So I said no. If I didn't have music, I would have lost my mind, because the expectation of people for you to be somebody that you was not born to be. I'm sorry, but I I can't apologize for me not hearing. People, did you hear what I said? I said, but in the vibration of the not hearing, the body, I can read body language and tell you what people are saying in the room without them speaking.
And that is true.
You're not having the hearing. I can read people because I've had to read them in order to function in amongst high society. In the midst of it, understanding that the vibration of the music called the kick. I don't only play the drums, I play the keyboard. I play almost anything you can play because I can play the bass. I can feel the vibe of the music, and the vibe of the music is rhythm. I can dance. I can dance like a crazy person because I can feel the vibe of the music, and it takes you somewhere. Some man was saying it takes you to the skirts of Africa. I don't know about all that, but in the midst of it, I can feel the vibe of it, and it takes you somewhere. And the arrangement of the songs now, if you don't move with the arrangement, everybody knows that you're not moving with the arrangement. And this is the crazy part. And I'm going to say this secret because every set I've been on, people that sang with me, they're hearing this now. They're like, she's lying. And you're going to tell me that she couldn't hear. If they ever hear and remember, because I'm on some of the biggest CDs that you ever seen, the biggest.
Yes, you are. And I have them all.
But I've always brought somebody familiar with me on the set. And they were qualified, don't get me wrong, but they covered me. When I say, what you say? Excuse me, at the 3, they knew to kick in. So nobody knew. Nobody knew. And I'm sorry for the people who didn't have that type of circle, that type of a circle to keep them and cover them. But I state, now that I'm here, be who you are. You don't have to hide who you are. Be who you are. I hid it for so long, 53 years I hid it until the pandemic. Then the root and ignorance I got after that. Why don't you know sign language? You know sign language? I say, do you know it? What good is it if I know sign language and you don't know sign language? But in the process of it, I got some real rude reactions. But I thank God that I still had the vibe of that music and the reaction of the music, because it takes you away. It takes you away like the commercial cow gun. It takes you somewhere, and you can always feel the vibe. A lot of times, my niece helps me with words because I sing funerals. I do funerals through funeral companies. And I'll hear the song, the rhythm and move of it. I don't hear the words. She has to give me the words. A lot of words you can't find on lyrics.com. So I go, that's how I hear it. And she'll say, you deserve it. That's what you're saying. You deserve it. You deserve it. You deserve it. That's when I can put the pieces together. Other than that, I just hear the sound and the vibration. So that was my world, the sound and the vibration. That's why I can play. I can play just about anything. But the actual singing part was more harder than the others because you have to put lyrics. People know these songs. You have to put lyrics to that vibe. And that's the test. But I thank God that that vibe has took me, ways and places that I know I couldn't have done myself. And it's nothing but God. I tell you that, cousin. Me and you both know, because you have the problem now too. If it wasn't for God showing you and even how to connect to these things, people will look at you like, what's wrong with you? Did you hear what I just said?
No.
In it all? No, I didn't.
No.
I didn't hear what you just said. Or I wouldn't ask you to say it again. And then it makes you I used to do this thing. I give you 2 yeses and 1 no. And if you give a high eyebrow like, yeah, I knew I should have said no. Even though I didn't know what you said. But this is how you have to live, because I'm not in a wheelchair. I'm not walking around with a blind eye stick with shades on. You look at me, I look absolutely normal. I talk absolutely normal. unless you're an audiologist specialist where you actually have ears to hear that I have a problem, you would never detect it. So when I tell people, even that I'm legally deaf, the lady says, you hear what you want to hear. I say, what? Does that even make sense to you? And then others were like, you lying. I've had people say, that's God playing jokes. I'm like, none of this makes sense. This type of ignorance had tormented me for a period of time that made me really want to hide it because the reaction that people have is so negative and ignorant. I've had very few people say, wow, that's really cool. You know, I mean, that you can't hear, but you can do this, you can do that. 9 out of 10, they give you this negative response and yeah, you wish, and you that's crazy. Or they look at you like you just shot somebody like,
yeah,
and so don't know what to say.
In those moments, I said, in those moments when you feel hurt, rejected, and despondent because of the ignorance of people, what's your song that feeds your spirit and your soul?
I need thee, oh, I need thee every hour. I need thee. Oh, bless me now, my Savior. I come to thee. And that pain just hits and I say, Lord, I need thee. Oh, I need thee. Every hour. What now, Lord? Oh, I need thee. Oh, Lord, oh, bless. Oh, bless me now, my Savior. Savior, Lord, I come. Hey, just as I am, I come to thee. That's it right there. Mm-hmm.
Woo!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
It's in the midst of pain, in the midst of saying, Lord, why me? You know you need him. And I realized, cuz, that the disability is an assignment. And I explain why. My disability keeps me so humble to know I couldn't do nothing without God. And the assignment to know that even in the midst of my imperfections, God is perfecting even this gift, the anointing on my life, the call of God in me. I don't know, God, if there would even be a full yes inside of me. If this wasn't who I am, I wouldn't change a thing. I had to come to this point because I asked God why for so many years. And I told him it was unfair Everybody, because the speech impairment was there when I was younger. It was ridiculous. My family is very comical. Everybody was laughing. Ha! You say, hey, say what? Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, but in the process of it, I was like, everybody else, that none of them had this. None of them. Why did you? Why is this? Why? Now I've learned to be grateful. Even in the midst of the mystery of it all, I've learned to be grateful and say, God, just as I am, I come to thee. I come to thee. I need you to go day by day. When I'm at offices trying to get help or get business done, and they're telling me, you need to call. I just told you I'm deaf, and you're telling me I need to call somebody? Are you serious? Do you know how many times you hear that line in a day, because they're used to people being able to pick up the phone and call, even in the midst of you telling them that you have a deficiency, because you're not wearing some kind of costume that connects them with the disability. They see a normal person standing there. No matter if you've told them that you can't hear, they look at you, nothing's wrong with her. So that's my song. That's my go-to. And I sit and I cry before the Lord. I'll sing that song until he fixed me. He fixed me.
It is now 3:30. 4:31. Wow. It's 4:31. And you are rolling on the road with Dr. Kimberly and Dave. Dave is on assignment today. And we're still talking about the intersectionality of disability and the church. And you touched on it a little bit about how you complained for years. When did you really say, okay, Lord, this is what you have for me. This is my thorn. Now I need your grace. I mean, just really, really receive that. Because for me, this is October will mark my 10th year. And 2022 has been the first year. We are now, September the 27th?
Mm-hmm.
9 months or, 8 months and 27 days. This is the first time I have not asked God, is today the day that you're going to heal me out of this chair? I have fully accepted it. I am rolling in it and moving forward. And I don't think that I have felt this wonderful in ever. I mean, ever. Just, this is what God has for me. There's not another person telling me that I don't have enough faith to be healed out of this chair. Well, you need to search yourself again and see maybe in there you still have some sin, and that's why he's not healed you. No. This is what God has for me at this time. And I accept my assignment. Everybody has something that they're supposed to do in the earth that is attached to their purpose and their promise. So have you come to that? Have you come to the full acceptance that this is where God has you?
Well, I have, and this is the crazy part. I accepted the disability many years ago, but I never accepted the exposure of the disability.
Oh.
And I knew I had a problem. I knew I had to work hard in this problem to not be in position that people said I wasn't effective. I worked hard so I could be better than the normal singers. So you never knew I had a problem. I would go in the studio and do one take because I accepted the fact that I had a disability. I worked real hard, but to say I'm comfortable with saying I don't care who knows it, that hit me this year as well as you. And I accepted the fact to say, if God made me different, he made me different for a reason. I shouldn't have to hide any part of who I am to people who really care about me. I shouldn't have to apologize to people who know me for something I had no ability in changing. I need to understand. Huh?
I have a question.
Yes.
And I guess I have to ask it of myself, but I'm asking it of you. What is it that you say to someone who still wants to hide? You know, is there anything that you would say to them to help them make that transition? Because for all intents and purposes, no one knows that they may have this disability, especially those, you know, other people who are deaf or hard of hearing, those who have a traumatic brain injury. I had this conversation just a couple days ago about how do we help those that still feel afraid, you know, that don't want the taunting, that don't want to be blackballed or blacklisted or maybe possibly lose their job because they've disclosed that they have this disability.
Well, my response is this, and this is the conclusion I had to come to this year, because I had a business to blackball me after I told one of the musicians I'm legally deaf, and his mouth was open like, what? The way you sing? But then he told the director I'm legally deaf, and I have not been called back. So I know what happened. In the process of it, I talked to the Lord about that because it bothered me. Because I said, I came on and I've done these steps, and I can't give myself credit. It's the power of God that operates in me, anointing me to do what I do. So why would you do that? In it all, the Lord began to show me, Pat, the places that I have for you, the doors I've opened for you, no man can close. So what I have for you is for you. Don't worry about those that have a problem for you being who you are. They can't accept how big you are in the midst of what they see so big is small. Because the anointing I put on your life is so huge, it outshines the disability. It lets people understand how I've confined the foolish things for the wise. And he uses you in spite of what you couldn't do by yourself. So what I've learned is accept who you are. When you accept who you are, believe it or not, others can accept who you are. When you're hiding who you are, I've learned this. A lot of people knew the whole time, but they didn't say nothing because you didn't say nothing.
Okay.
They thought that you would be offended that they knew. But if you let people know who you are and accept and fall in love with who you are, you not come because God don't make no junk. When you understand that he's allowed this to happen, let you say 10 years, I've been like this all my life. Mm-hmm. In the process of it all, as long as I could remember, I couldn't hear conversations and people that knew my problem. Let me show you how rude people can be. They'd be in the room and having a conversation, and they'll have a hand over their mouth because they know I'll be there. Just to make me feel outright alienated. That's the only edge I got. And you want to take that from me too. But God said, what you need to hear, you'll hear. What you don't, you won't. And I'm going to tell you something that's true, is as weird as it can be. Kimmy, I used to fight because you be a real defensive person when you grow up with a handicap. You're real defensive, and a lot of people are still defensive right now. They're angry because they have a disability, and so defensive, and before you know it, the rattlesnake in you bites out at people who really don't mean no harm. I used to fight. And as I began to even think about why is this affliction still on me, and I know God to be a healer. I didn't think God people stretch people leg out, do all kinds. I didn't do all kinds of stuff. I say, why do I not have my healing? In it all, my temper was so bad. A lot of things that people were saying to me and about me, Kimmy. If I heard them, baby, it would have been a bad day in Gotham City. They would have been had to smoking because I don't know.
Can't hear you.
That situation. And I'm glad later on now that I couldn't hear some things, because some of the things I would have heard probably would cause a negative response or reaction. You have to understand you are who you are, and God made you the way you are. Some, like you said, 10 years in, this came later in life. It wasn't by accident, and everything is not a situation like you said in the Bible. Who did sin? Did their mother? Did their father? Did they sin? No. Some of this is that the glory of God can come out of you. Now, if Patricia would have acted a fool and responded because I heard something somebody said, it would have been a bad situation. All the lives that I would touch in ministry would have been missed by a moment of somebody verbally saying something, when now I can be used in ways that most people can wish they're used in. God used me prophetically. He used me in ministry. He used me to minister to young people. He uses me. Well, I would have missed the whole thing if I didn't understand that God had a bigger plan. And if he has a bigger plan, you can accept what he has set in place and thank him for you being who you are. Trust me. And you being the best you are, you're giving God all glory. And that's the one who matters. People cannot take you anywhere unless you let them. You let people take you to a crazy state and bother you in your mind about this and that. And a lot of them are whispering behind your back, wishing they were you. Absolutely. Not knowing how the demons are tormenting you. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I want to just say, hey to Deborah Vick. Thank you for your comment. She's made a couple of them here, and I definitely agree. And I think that we're all on the same page. And she's coming to us all the way from California. So let's wave out there.
Hey, California?
From California. And she definitely has a story to tell as well. And I appreciate all that you had to say today. And I think that we went to a place, emotionally, that I don't think that either one of us have been in a while. And I want to say thank you for your transparency. I want to thank you for your vulnerability. And just, I'm going to let you sing us on out. That's what I'm going to do. And so I'm just going to say thank you so much for tuning into Rolling on the Road with Dr. Kimberly and Dave on today, as we continue the discussion about the intersectionality of the church and disability. And each person that comes on, for them to express what their relationship is, has been, and their experiences within the church, their personal experiences as a Christian, or whatever other religion that they may have, because we definitely have a great lineup of folks that will be on of different religions, and how they have, made their way through life, worshiping their higher power, how those that are around them have treated them because of their diverse ability, whether it is seen or whether it is not seen as well. As Pat stated, that to look at her, you would never know that she only has 15% hearing in both of her ears. And I have my apparatuses. I think that, when you start to lose, your hearing and you don't hear, that when you hear a lot of noise, then it's more irritating than not. So I like the peace, I like the quiet, and I like not, I don't want to know what you said.
Yes.
And sometimes I think, oh, she said hi.
Hi.
Oh, thank
Thank you.
you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Um, I believe that God gives us, I like to call them superpowers that help us to do what it is that we need to do to fulfill our purpose. And
Hmm.
if you could have heard all of the things that people were saying, yeah, I don't think that you would be as prolific of a singer as you are, because you would have been hearing all of the, oh no, she's gone. Well, we want to say thank you so much for tuning in, and we hope you enjoyed the show today. And we'll see you on next week, same place, same time.